Hi, this is Melody Meadows, and welcome to the, explaining the stories I've created for my PJGAU Once Upon a Time in a Secret Garden, Part 1, Rapunzel / the Blue Fairy, aka Wenona. Now, what is this AU? Well, this AU is based on the ABC live-action series Once Upon a Time, and if you don't know what that is, basically, the story is about the evil queen who places a curse upon all of fairy tale land, banishing them to our world with no recollection of their fairy tale lives, and she's the only one that remembers everything and wants to keep it that way. So, and everything was fine until they started adding Disney characters after season 3. So, yeah, in this AU, we will not be including any Disney characters, Pixar characters, Greek mythology, or any stories like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I don't know what they were smoking when they decided that was a good idea, but I don't want it. Anyway, so one of the first stories I came up with, was for Wenona. Now, keep in mind that I've only done past half of the characters so far, so if any of you who have both seen Project Eden's Garden and watched Once Upon a Time, you brave souls, please comment what ideas you have for the rest of the characters. If you want to see the characters I've come up with so far, there will be a link to a specific post on my TikTok page. So yeah. So, as you know, in Once Upon a, as people who have watched Once Upon a Time will know, Once Upon a Time changes the story to fit, like, the alter egos of the fairy tale characters, which was fine until they started adding freaking Anna and Elsa for Frozen! So, how does Wenona become the blue fairy in this case? How does Rapunzel become the blue fairy? Well, as you know, during the climax of the story, the prince gets sent into a bunch of thorns by the witch. Like I said, this is for the classic story, none of the Disney-fied versions. The prince falls from the tower while climbing down, and then the witch makes him land into a bunch of thorns, which blinds him. And Rapunzel gets her hair cut and banished to an island in the middle of a swamp. Seriously? You get mad at the parents for stealing their greens, but then you take a baby, lock her in a tower, and when she disobeys you once, you cut her hair and banish her to a swamp. Look, I, of all people, understand that asking people first before you do something is mandatory, but, who's the bigger evil here? That's a little bit extreme, don't you think? Anyway, so, at the end of the story, Rapunzel sings, the prince goes to her because he can still hear, obviously, and her tears heal his eyes, and, he takes her back to his castle, and they live happily ever after. Well, not in this case. In this case, the, tower the witch locks Rapunzel in was once a tower belonging to a magical wizard. One day, Rapunzel finds a magic book that belonged to said wizard, and starts learning magic. Cut forward to the point in the story where her hair gets cut. The witch cuts her hair and banishes her to an island in the middle of a swamp, but instead of just sitting there and doing nothing, she uses her magic to go back to the witch and actually ends up defeating her. AKA kill her. So, with her biggest tormentor gone, Rapunzel goes into the enchanted forest, now armed with magical abilities. But everyone in this enchanted forest is scared of witches because this is based on Once Upon a Time, and that is a reoccurring thing. So instead of going by the Blue Witch, she goes by the Blue Fairy, so that people will stop being scared of her. And yes, when I mean Blue Fairy, I mean the Blue Fairy from Pinocchio, who in this case is Ulysses. If you want a part 2 to this, I will explain that in the part 2 in question. But yeah, that is going to be it for this video, explaining my story for how Rapunzel ends up becoming the Blue Fairy from Pinocchio. And, instead of being a fairy, she is a witch. Because she learned magical abilities from a wizard. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is Melody Meadows, and yeah, much love, goodbye.